our third year and have a great opponent in Syracuse. So the excitement level and of our team in general has been up all week. And I think we're anxious to get on the court and sort of get going.
On the aisle.
Archie, Mike Lepresti with NCAA.com. You had kind of an unusual season personnel-wise. You had some injuries. You had the suspension. How challenging was it to work through all those things and keep everything going the right direction?
It was difficult. I think the one thing is starting the season, you know, with maybe your most productive player coming back not going to be available was something that, you know, was uncertain. We were uncertain. You know, our front court is young other than maybe Kendall's experience level. But I think Charles, you know, really gave us a boost early in the year that we weren't real sure, just that he hasn't played. And he got off to, I thought, a tremendous start. And our non-conference schedule was very difficult, so I knew we were tested. The challenging thing, not so much for Deshaun as he came back, was the other guys. Because as he did come back, it was clear we were going to use him. And when we did use him, it just became something that we had to get him in the mix a lot and to get his rhythm back with the other players. And some guys had to take a back seat. You know, we didn't play some guys who played a lot of minutes leading into that. So that was a challenge. And I think early January, late December, we sort of working those kinks out. And then when we were healthiest of the year, when we ripped off, I think, 9 in a row, that was the rotation that was going to be set in stone there for a while. And then Kendall's setback at the end sort of changed us again. But, you know, I think as we're here right now, we're in a good way. We have a lot of different guys, I think, working hard that can impact the game. And, you know, we'll see. We're going to have some different guys step up as the tournament gets started on Friday.
Right there.
Sam Blum from the Daily Orange. A lot of the Syracuse guys said they've been watching tape, you know, from the game 2 years ago, and I know Syracuse has a lot fewer players on its team currently than you guys do from that game. Have you guys looked at that tape and you know, gone off that game, I guess, at all?
Different personnel on both teams, and our philosophy on both ends of the ball has changed slightly. In watching them play, they do, you know, they're pretty much in very similar fashion to Coach Boeheim's teams, very, very free-flowing on offense, and defensively the zone is the zone. The one thing that's a little bit unique in that first game that we played them, I thought we had a different type of a team physically. We were bigger, we were stronger. You know, Deshaun at that time was playing the 3 slot for us, so I thought we had a couple different guys that could work in and out of that zone, where this year we don't have as many. So it's going to be very, very challenging. You know, I think the mindset of the two teams will be another thing that's a lot different right now, you know, getting into the tournament. So you can go back and look at it for sure, but I think it's going to be a different type of a game.
Going back to that game, what do you kind of remember about the emotions there when you almost lost that 6-point lead, and then what it kind of meant for your program to get that and continue on in the tournament that year?
Well, I would say that as much as anything, you know, a win like that against Syracuse, advancing to the Sweet 16, may have as much reason as us being here for the 3rd year in a row as anything. You know, March has become the stage with all the lights, and if you're able to be in this stage and you're able to win a game, I think it feels great. When you're able to make a run like we made a couple years ago, I think it carries over to your players' experience level, big game mentality in the last couple regular seasons. So a game like that, being able to win it, you know, I think has propelled us to be where we're at right now.
Over on the left, Archie.
Coach, I was talking to a couple of your guys about this, kind of an unorthodox question, but I was wondering if you prefer, as a coach, the first half or the second half from the perspective of calling offensive plays to your players, them being closer to you in the second half, or on defense, shouting out defensive things because the basket they're at is by your bench and by you.
Well, we've always been much better on defense in the first half and much better on offense in the second half. And I think, you know, being able to communicate with your players during a game and the flow of a game is important, especially with the way we play. So I always would like to have, I guess, our offense in front of us late in the game, especially in tight ones when you're able to help easier communicate to your guys. And especially in the first half defensively, I think we're a lot more successful. But, you know, I guess that's just the way the game goes. So I don't know, maybe some coaches don't care. They'd rather have their defense in front of them late in the game. Never had to, you know, really had that opportunity, so I don't know what it feels like. But definitely like to communicate with our guys when they're in front of us.
Mike Waters, Syracuse Media Group. Archie, you've had a good run at Dayton the last 4 years, but before you, Brian Gregory, Oliver Purnell, and of course Don for years. What is the secret at Dayton? What is it about Dayton that helps so many different guys have success there?
Well, I think at first it has to start and stop with the administration. I think it has to go down from the vision of the administration and understanding that basketball is extremely important. I think the second thing would be the tradition-based fans, a community feel in town, but a fan base that's very knowledgeable, that loves our arena, that loves the feel of being a part of a winner, and I think that's carried over. Right now, the momentum that we have with our fan base and what's going on in the city of Dayton around our program is at a high, and but I think it starts from the top, administration, and the importance, and they understand that we have a great fan base and we need to cater to them, and the vision is to always continue to improve, and you'll see when we tip at 11:15. I mean, we're going to have a heck of a showing here.
Just a quick follow-up. Ever since 2014 with that Elite Eight run, your name comes up whenever there's a job opening out there. How do you handle that?
I've never paid any attention to it, to be honest with you. I have a job to do. Whether I'm an assistant coach, a graduate assistant, or now the head coach, I've always been taught if you do a great job at what you're doing, good things will happen. I just try to do a great job for our players at Dayton. I'm very, very comfortable at Dayton. We have a place, I think, to continue to even get better and better. And what we do right now, we own. It's ours. And I'm proud of that.
Archie, Dayton's record against the Power Five last few years has been pretty impressive. How much do you consider that a sign of what that program is, and how important is that number to you?
Well, I think, when you play in the Atlantic 10 and sometimes you can get overlooked a little bit, from an exposure standpoint, that anytime we've had an opportunity to play against, like you said, a Power 5 team, I think it raises our guys' interest level. I think it raises them. They play with a chip on their shoulder. They have an edge about them. In many cases, they weren't good enough to play at a lot of those places. And you're dealing with a team that's always literally trying to prove themselves. So I think that's some of the advantage. I think some of it is we're better than a lot of those teams. You can say whatever you want to say about Power 5. We're better than some of those teams. We've beat teams that are good teams, but we've also been pretty good. And, as we get ready to approach this tournament, a sense of belonging here rather than excited to be here is a different feeling at this time of year as well. Our guys pretty much, from the start of the season all the way through, it wasn't about the tournament. It was about, winning a championship. And then once we get to the tournament, we'll see where we're at, and let's go try to play, have fun, and advance. But we have a different group now. And, I think as we get ready to approach even more so, games next year, whatever it may be, I don't necessarily know if we're looked at anymore as, that team that, is from the Atlantic 10 or whatever. I think Dayton has its own name now.
3 questions are up, starting on the right-hand side. Go.
Hi, Coach. Good afternoon. Marty Smith from ESPN.
How you doing?
I am fantastic. Congratulations for being here.
Thank you.
I think Coach Boeheim has been at Syracuse longer than you've been alive, man. What is your impression of his tenure and ability to stay relevant for all these years?
Well, he's an incredible coach. The first thing I think when you talk about Coach Boeheim is the most impressive thing is the legions and decades of players that are so loyal to him. Alan Griffin, who's on my staff, who played for Coach Boeheim, it's almost like they're one of his sons, and he's got a lot of them. And I think as a coach, even me, developing our own brand and just thinking about guys that have graduated and come back, he has decades full of players that love him. I think that's the first step. And I think the second thing that's most important is they're very, very comfortable being himself, very, very comfortable being themselves on the court. They change for nobody. There's a great confidence level in how they play, how they develop their players, and how they coach. And I think, there's a brand that's next to Syracuse. It'll be there forever because of him. So he's a Hall of Famer, but he's a very, very intelligent guy, and he breeds confidence. And when you can do it as long as he has and the loyal players that he has underneath him, very, very impressive.
Yeah, Tom Archdeacon from Dayton. Steve McIlvain, just the way he's matured this year, if he has, and are we just seeing the tip of the iceberg of what he could be, or just what do you see this kid could be?
Well, Steve's done a nice job for us. You know, he's basically a freshman. You know, he played his first year of college basketball, and I think it's harder even for big kids early in their careers to figure out how the college game works for them than more so even for a guard. So Steve's helped us win. Steve's helped us get here. You look at some of the numbers he has per minute, and you look at some of our defensive numbers in particular, he's a big reason why. But he's the very, very tip of what he could be. You know, Steve has a chance to be as good as he wants to be. He's got great hands. He's got great length, and he has an unbelievable appetite to work. There's very few days that he doesn't show up and work very hard. But learning the game, being smarter, you know, how people go after him, you know, and the fouling and some things like that, that's immaturity just in terms of not understanding, you know, the game. As he gets older, a game like this on Friday, he gets this under his belt. You know, he's going to continue to gain that knowledge that a big guy needs to have. And, you know, I'm proud of Steve. Steve started, you know, from, I don't want to say rock bottom, but Steve started at one level at 300 pounds. You know, today he's 250 pounds, and, you know, he's played his first year of college basketball, and he's doing a nice job in the classroom. So we'll see. You know, I think the big thing for him is to continue to work hard, have a good attitude, and the sky's the limit.
We are under 4 minutes to go. 2 questions are up. Go, please.
Coach, obviously, this time of year we hear a lot about small schools, and even though Dayton may not be the biggest school in the tournament, there is no Cinderella where you're at. Been here, done that. How much of an advantage now is you guys fully expect to advance, and when you recruit, guys don't come here hoping to get in the tournament. They hope to advance and go far. How much mindset-wise does it help you?
I think it should help. You know, I think, you know, being yourself in this tournament, being yourself this time of year is the most important thing. Do the things that you've done all year to get here and don't change. I think so many times you can come into the tournament, and if you're not careful, all the media, all the open practices, all the hoopla can have you not ready, and as fast as you got here, you even get kicked out quicker. So I think as we've been able to do a couple things the last couple years, the one thing that has been very key is talking about being ourselves. We don't have to change for anybody. What we do works, and just kind of keeping that mantra. And that's gotten us here now, and I think as we prepared this week, we haven't changed a whole lot in our approach. I think the biggest thing is a mindset that as you get ready to play this game, how hard you have to play. And I think some guys on our team clearly know what it's going to feel like. So I think you have to have an advantage about that.
You talked about Coach Griffin. I mean, looking at this week, I guess, what does he kind of bring to the table in terms of helping prepare your team, and what is he
Nothing. He's scared to death. He's scared to death. Coach Boeheim scares him like no other person has ever been scared. He has no value in this game at all, actually. He just sits there and he's very quiet on the bench. No, Griff's done a great job. I mean, he's done a great job for us in his time here. He does a great job with our players. There's not much he's going to tell me that I'm not going to know. They're going to play a real good zone, and they're going to get their best player shots. That's what they do, and they play with great freedom. And he understands that more than anybody because he's been there. But, you know, there's a couple things that, you know, he has a familiarity with that help us a little bit. But your personnel, your players, they have to go out there and play.
Anything else for Coach Miller?